Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
I'm Tracey.
She's Tracey and I'm Carol.
And we are a little sad, my Outlander Purgatory, I would
No,
say.
not sad, just discombobulated today.
Yeah, kind of another, it's you guys, it's another video where up is down, down is up, and upside down is right side up, or right side up is
I'm
upside
I'm
down.
I'm so confused.
This is a very, very, very rare morning. Is it still morning? Yes, it's still morning. Morning edition of My Outlander Purgatory. We're morning edition. I feel very NPR. We have to be all serious now, Carol. Da, 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 da. So obviously we're not, having our little glasses of wine like we would normally do when we do these videos, like later at night. So we're having morning drinks. Carol, what are you drinking?
Well, I've got a little of this,
Hmm?
a little of this,
Hmm? That's good stuff, by the way. Tom's going to kill her.
and a
Oh!
little of this.
Oh! Nice! Nice!
Ew, there's
Nice!
something stuck on the top of it that looks pretty disgusting. Oh, Tracey is showing our newfound awesomeness that we... All right, let's not even talk about the semantics. Let's just roll right into it.
Wait, I haven't done mine. So
That's what I mean.
Okay. Yes, we found these new emojis. We have upgraded our Skypes, and there's emojis now. So be prepared to be annoyed, because we're gonna be annoying. I am doing the whole. I don't know if you guys go camping, but like one of the best things about camping is like the 10 o'clock in the morning beer.
Is going home.
Well, no, the post camp shower is the best shower of the year, hands down. But so I'm having a little bit of a Star Hill Reviver Red Ale. Star Hill is a local brewery. Thank you. It's a local brewery in the Charlottesville, Virginia area that we went to a couple years ago, and loved it. They had really good beer. But I'm gonna tell you guys, like they're always like on Outlander. They're always drinking ale in the morning. I get it, man. This is like eating oatmeal. Okay, it's like just that like same kind of like cereal-ish, like hefty kind of a bite to it. I 100% get the ale in the morning deal.
Ale and
I mean, it
Paris.
doesn't have caffeine. Like that's the thing. Well, they had coffee back then, right?
They had acorn coffee. No, they did have coffee. Remember when they couldn't get the coffee, they had to have acorn coffee.
Right. But like no caffeine. Just drink. I mean, I've said this a million times before. How the hell they just didn't fall asleep all the time over there, I will just never know.
I don't know, but I have a question for you guys. Has anyone ever tried acorn coffee? Let us know. Because I
Would you
think I'd
want?
like to. I love coffee. I live for coffee. Coffee, 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 coffee.
Well,
So,
do they make it with real acorns, right? Not like coffee beans shaped like acorns or
duh. I
chocolate
kind of want to
acorns.
say duh, but since I don't know enough about it, I guess I shouldn't. But I mean, they ground up acorns and made coffee out of it. I want to know if anyone's ever tried it, and should I?
And the other thing that I was going to say is that I'm wearing my special shirt today. Given the past couple episodes and how Carol and I have been sort of, complaining a little bit. So, I don't know if you can see it. I totally found it at Target, and I was just like, sold. There you go.
I'm going to buy one of those.
It's pretty funny. Okay, episode 308.
I have a problem. I didn't write down who wrote and directed it. Do you know?
Oh shoot. You know what? Okay, the episode is called First Wife, and it is written by Joy Blake, I believe is another new writer, and directed by Jennifer Getzinger, did she direct something else before earlier on this season?
I don't know. I don't. I don't pay enough attention to that, and I should.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the Easter egg at all?
First, I want to say that this is the episode in my mind is called "I Can't for the Life of Me Remember What Happened in the Books," because that's what I sat there the entire time saying to myself, "It didn't happen like this in the book." And then I would go, "Well, I have to whip out the book and find it because I don't remember." That's why I'm so confused. Like I don't remember how it did happen in the books. You know what I mean? What was this called? Was this called Lallybroch?
First wife.
First wife. Okay. So we open up at Lallybroch.
Can we talk about the Easter egg?
Oh, yeah. Did I pass that? Sweets. The Easter egg is sweets. And when you got to it, did you really understand, like, why? Was it just something cute?
No, I didn't understand it at all, and I liked it. Because that's the kind of Easter egg that I like. I don't like when they try to get all, like, cutesy with the Easter egg and, like, you know, like, oh, well, let's, like, show the, like, writer and director, like, Jamie printed them in his shop. Because that's stupid, and it, like, you know, crosses the streams too much, as I've said. This one was, I had no idea who it was. I thought maybe it was a Leary serving because it kind of looked like her, but, like, I couldn't quite tell. And, I mean, I knew from the books that, like, you know, she has 2 kids, whatever. There's, like, sort of a little, like, a young girl being served some stuff. And then they just zoom in on, some food, like a cake or, like, a pie or something, and some wine. And I had no idea what it meant, and I loved it. And I kind of figured out, I think what it is Hogmanay. I think it's the Hogmanay party.
Well, it is. It's totally the 2 girls at the table with the candies and the sweets on Hogmanay.
Right. And I like that. I think that that's kind of like, that's sort of where this whole, like, that's sort of where if Jamie took a turn in the road, if there were many roads and Jamie took a turn down a road, that was just like the one turn that he would be like, no, that was probably not something you should do. It was that turn, and that's where he took the turn. So I like that a lot.
I didn't really know what he thought he should do because his reactions weren't exactly what I was expecting this week, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
Okay, so we arrive at Lallybroch on horseback. Claire's a bit apprehensive because she knows the fury that's coming.
The fury that is Jenny Murray.
Ian is not happy to be being dragged back to Lallybroch. And Jamie has a bit of a, I don't want to say a smirk on his face, but he's sort of like, this is getting good, almost. First line of the night, Jenny's bitching. And it pretty much continues like that for the rest of the episode. That's what I have.
He's not happy.
That's what I have. Get ready for a whole episode of this.
He's not happy.
You know, Claire's being... See, it's going to be hard for me to hold... I know I sound like... It's going to be hard for me until I can say what's on my mind. But I can't really do that until we get to it. Claire's being sweet. Jenny's completely berating her. And Jamie is pretty much just sort of standing there. I'm kind of like, okay, step in.
Well, but doesn't that kind of make sense to you, though? Because they know what the true story is. I mean, Jenny knows.
So you're going to let your sister sit there and berate Claire when you know damn well Claire's done nothing wrong? I'm sorry. That isn't directed toward you, okay? That's just what's been boiling up inside of me for days. And this isn't the show, really. I mean, this is, well, it is and it isn't. See, this is where I go, did he just stand there like and not do anything like in the books? But then when I watched it again, I was like, all right, it didn't go on as long as I thought. He didn't stand there for very long. He did interject at one point. So
he said something to Jenny. I mean, and he called her Janet. You know that he's really pissed off at her when he calls her Janet.
Yes.
So I don't know. I thought I wasn't yelling. I wasn't mad at him for that. I thought he was. I think he knows what she's feeling. He knows why she's feeling it. But then there were points where even he was like, yeah, you know what? You need to back away, Janet.
Yeah, and he should be doing that a lot more because Claire's done absolutely nothing wrong. And that's going to be my theme through this entire episode is Claire has done nothing wrong and is now being berated for it. And I am living it. Again, I don't know that this is the show.
I don't think it's the show.
So much as the story.
Maybe some issues that you had with the book is coming out.
Well, it's not issues I have with the book.
Well, it's the story.
This is why I read these books. It's emotion. I don't care whether it's, happiness, sadness, anger. It's emotion. It's great. It makes you think. It makes you discuss. It makes you think about the whole thing. But I need to go over my blog posts because this is where I'm confused, and I'm sorry because I have not had time to go through my blog posts and see how I was feeling then and what exactly she said and what he said. And so I'm going to have to, I am right now almost coming at this like a show watcher, you know what I mean, who hasn't read the books, because I can't remember how it all went down in the books, and I'm just right now going off of the story and how I feel about it, and what's happening, and I'm just right now pissed off that poor Claire is just standing there taking it. It just and good for Claire that Claire, who's usually so outspoken, doesn't say a word.
What did Ginny call her when she's like, and it might have been later when they're in the living room, but she's like, you know, she called her she called her some name when she's like, and then you bring home a blah 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 that we haven't seen for 20 years, like a stray, or I don't know. She said something that was like, it's like, what?
And you know, and you're not like, I'm not. I get Jenny 1,000%. She's seen her siblings suffer all these years, and then this one trollops back into town, and she's like, hello, like, you know, he's been through a ton. Where have you been? I do understand her point.
Right.
But what I don't like is that, you know, poor Claire just has done nothing. Claire suffered too, and she's being made to be the villain here.
I know. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you, because again, I'm seeing it from Jenny's perspective as much as from Claire's perspective. And like, yes, I like what you just said is completely true. Like, if I'm Jenny, I'm like, the hell did you like not? Yeah, you know, you could like drop a letter in the mail and just put like Lallybroch, Scotland, and even in friggin' like 1760 whatever, it's gonna get here in 20 years.
Right.
At some point, it's gonna get here.
Right.
And we're gonna know that you're alive, and my brother is not gonna marry the Patana. You know. So I can see where she is blaming Claire, and in her mind, you know, she's not being bitchy and she's not being unfair. And plus, she doesn't know she doesn't know the truth about Claire, and
ding, 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 ding. She doesn't know. So how about shutting Mr. Piehole for 2 seconds and letting somebody answer you?
But what's Claire going to say? This is the thing. And this is the whole theme of the episode, that like Claire can't tell her.
Well, let me tell you something else that's stupid.
Let me just tell you this. I thought Carol was texting me all week, because I didn't get a chance to watch this, like I said, till late in the week. And she's like, oh my God, I'm not saying anything. And as I'm watching it, I mean, I kind of thought it stuck pretty closely to the book, quite frankly. But I'm like, but Carol's like, I'm not going to tell you. And as it went on, and I was like, holy shit, that's what she's talking about. Claire is going to effing tell Jenny what happened. And I'm not going to spoil anything, except to say that does not happen in the book. Claire does not tell Jenny. No, that news is not shared.
You know, no.
Well,
so maybe that's a segue.
I was like, oh my God, she's gonna do it. And then she didn't, and I was like, oh, good psych out, very good psych out. But no, I get it. I am less angry for Claire because of Jenny's behavior, because I kind of am seeing both sides.
I see both sides,
and I do think that Jamie did come to Claire's defense.
You know, but for a little while he just stood there, and I thought, okay, the whole thing is stupid, because Jamie knows, they know how she is. Jamie should have gone first. And sat down with his sister and explained this about Claire. Claire's back. Here's why. Blah 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 blah. And let his sister sit with it, and then we
know Jamie effed this all up. I mean, we know that like 100% Jamie effed this all up. I mean, we knew that in the book too.
Yeah, but how convenient that he finally fessed up 30 seconds before they came in. All right, let's just continue.
Wait till we get to that to talk about that?
Let's keep moving. I keep waiting for you, and I'm like, oh shit, it's me. Okay. Everyone's in the house talking. Ian is pissed that he's home to feed chickens when he could be in the city earning a wage. And
can I interject that I love him so much? I love him so
I will tell you something.
Much.
At one point, Tom was talking about, I'm sorry, I forget her name. Jenny. Laura. What's her name in real life?
Laura. I want to say Laura Murray, but
Tom
that's not.
At one point said, like, she's like
she's so good.
The best thing in this, like she's like the best part of this episode. Like she's amazing. And I was like, she totally is. But then as I watched it again, I was like,
Laura Donnelly.
If Ian isn't right up there with her, he's only a hair behind because God, is he a needed force in this episode.
I love him so much.
He would come in at perfect times when you'd need a little bit of Ian. And you know how I feel about him. I love his little Paisley accent. So,
I love him so much. I think he is perfect casting. His look is 100,000% correct.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in the book, he's, they always use the word homely, but I think it's kind of like there's another like more positive word used with it too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. She doesn't say like, oh, poor him, he's homely. She says like
he's a dog.
He's homely and adorable at the see time or something. She doesn't say that.
They nailed that 1,000%.
Yes.
John Bell.
Yes.
And he's good. He's a good actor. He's got that like sort of lightness. He's got that sort of like, teenage angst. He is just wonderful. And I'm so excited for him, knowing like all the stuff that's in his future.
Are going to come because of this
which
show.
I will say.
Yeah.
Not like just opportunities and stuff. What's in the character's future.
Yeah.
Knowing all these amazing like scenes he's going to get to play.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for him.
That's why they cast him, because he's that good. I mean, he's spectacular and he's right up there. And frankly, I swear to God, it seems like he's been there longer than everybody else. He's so good and right on into the...
Right. I mean, it's as much a kudo for the casting people as it is for him. I mean, I couldn't be happier with him. Couldn't be happier. Can I say one other... Oh, well, all right. Keep going.
So then Jenny's doing it again, lecturing everybody in the room. I have the word bitch written down many, many times. Bitch and bitching.
I sort of knew that already. I mean, look, Jenny is the sweetness and light.
We're discussing. So I get that Jenny and Ian are mad, but there is a major lecturing tone going on. I get that they're mad at Jamie for not fessing up when Ian showed up out there. Like I'd be pissed. Like, what the hell? I was there. I asked you and you told me no to my face. You lied to my face. That's how I'd be saying it. Like, you lied to my face. I wouldn't be like, and it's like your dad. Like, they're being lectured to. Claire and Jamie are being lectured to by their mom and dad.
If you judge your friends for passing judgment on you, you're not only judging yourself, you're judging your friends for judging you. And that would be using bad judgment.
That's how it's coming off, and it's creeping me out big time. Jenny says that Claire dropped back into their lives as if nothing's changed. Then Ian says that Claire killed a guy.
Right.
He killed him.
That's so good. She killed him good.
She killed him real good. And Jenny tells him to go outside, which she does 40 times in this episode. Good. Now she's berating Claire as if she's a teacher and they're in the 3rd grade. And shockingly, Claire is putting up with this nonsense. Like, Claire is sitting there once again, letting herself be berated. And I think that Claire is thinking, look, I know how Jenny is. I know how this looks. I'm going to take my lumps, and then we'll move on. Jamie has a great point about sending money. Oh, yeah, you have a problem with the way I'm out here making money, but I'm sending it all back to you, and you don't seem to have a problem with that. She doesn't even acknowledge that he said that. She's like, yeah, but she doesn't even acknowledge that she's living off some of the money that he's sending.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she just
has no trouble taking the blood money, but
no trouble using it and spending it. But now you're going to have a problem with it. And then Ian is like, takes off his belt and hands it to Jamie. Is like, you want to be his dad? You go whip him.
I love that.
So then we move on to Miss Janet outside doing little work.
Little Janet.
Yes, Miss Janet. Little Janet, not Jenny. I will call Jenny, and Janet. And I think she looks a little like, who's the actress who played Wednesday in the Addams Family? Christina Ricci. She looks a little like a young Christina Ricci in a way.
Okay, I'll buy that.
You like that?
I'll buy that. And Ian, they've made Ian like, I don't know I don't know what he's doing, but I think whatever he's doing, it involves some cow dung.
Oh, he's like spreading it. What was
I know.
that? And he's got the apron on, and he's slopping it on, and then I was like, is this mud or poops?
I have to say, like, this whole, and I mean, it sort of like happens a little later too, but I'm still like not thrilled about the age change. It's bugging me.
Whose age change?
Ian's age change. And I know it's 2 years. In the book, he is 14, about to turn 15. And they've made him 16 in the show. Right. And even Jamie at one point says, like, look, you know, he's a man. Like, he's that. Even those two, like that 1 year span or year and a half span, in my mind, is the difference between Jenny, you know, Ian living at home, and Jenny like having to, like, you know, smack him around and make him do stuff, and him being a man. And the reason I say that is because
smack a bitch.
So okay, Ian Murray is not like, okay. Ian Murray is 16, right?
Right.
So think of all the other kids. We've got wee Jamie, who's the oldest. Now let's figure out. He's probably at this point. He was about 2 or 3 when Clara first met him, and it's been 23 years. So
and he's like married with 5 kids.
Yes. We'll give him 26 tops. Okay.
Suspension of disbelief.
He's got 5 kids, or 4 kids, whatever. Let's say he was wed at 19. Let's go there. If Ian is 16 years old, like, and I still don't get the kind of like looking at him like a child. Now, one could make the argument, and you are the youngest in our family, so we could make the argument that you are always going to be the baby. No matter what, you are always going to be the baby of the family. Our parents will always look at you as the baby, no matter how old you are. So you could make that argument. I would also argue that that free ride ends once the grandkids start coming.
Oh, hell yeah. But you're looking at, are you saying because he like lives there?
Well, I'm saying not only because he lives there, but because he's treated like this, like a young lad, rather than like kind of a man that one becomes at 16 in that time period. You know?
Right.
Like, I mean,
well,
like,
she does say at one point,
once grandkids start coming, I would think they'd be like, okay, Ian, you're 16, go get a job. Bye. Go get a job and find yourself a wife.
She does say at one point, like, I don't even remember how she worded it, but, you know, go take him before he realizes that legally he is able to do whatever he wants.
And that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't 14. I have to assume it's because of, you know, we don't know what's going to unfold going forward, and maybe they needed him to be a little older.
I think so. I also think that they're setting up Fergus and Ian to be kind of the new Angus and Rupert, as we talked about last week.
Yeah, that too.
So they're aging Ian a little bit, and they're younging Fergus a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, they were never going to be able to be true to the ages in the books when they have actors playing both ages.
Right. It's just like Ian to me is kind of portrayed. This number is like weird in my head because it makes me think he's a legal man, he's a legal adult, and he's being treated like a kid, and it works for me when he's 14, treated like a kid. It doesn't work for me so much when he's 16. And I know there's just a 2-year span of age, but like,
I don't think they've explained though. If you read the books, you know he kind of is. I don't know that it's as much how old he is as much as he's this free spirit, and he's always disappearing, and he's always pulling stuff, and he's always doing this and that and getting in trouble and getting whipped. And you know what I mean? He's just like the crazy kid. So right. It's more of that and them trying to keep him in line because Jenny knows his free spirit, and she knows he's going to get, you know, caught up with the wrong people, and they want to kind of stay on him.
Right.
And that's why they want to keep him home, hoping that maybe he'll stay home and end up starting a family here and we don't have to worry about him. But instead he keeps disappearing. And now come to find out the person who's getting him into the trouble is Jamie. So this is why I totally get her anger, and I understand as a parent why she's flipping out at her brother. Like, how could you do this to me? Like, what?
Right.
Totally get it.
Right.
That situation,
like,
I do understand.
I took your young Ian and was like, oh, go, like, you know, do my smuggling for me.
Right.
Like, you kill me.
Right. My only issue is always the way she presents it and the way she lectures. I do not like that at all. And again, not necessarily a show thing, but I've never liked that about Jenny. Like, she's just such an immature, selfish person sometimes, because, you know, it's hard because in some ways she's really good and she's the matriarch and she does so much for everybody. So it's hard to sit there and look at her like that. But she's selfish. She doesn't understand other people. She doesn't understand that she's not the only person on this earth, and she needs to realize that other people go through things, and take a step back, put yourself in their position, and stop lecturing everybody all the time. That's my biggest thing, because you see it happen at the end when Ian talks to her husband, and says, look, and he shuts her right down, and she goes, like, she's like, okay, you're right. Like, I get it. You know what I mean?
I think selfish is a really harsh word to use for Jenny. I always really liked Jenny. And I think that she
I'm not saying I don't like her.
She fights for what's important, not just to her, but like the family is everything to her. So they've like, and her brother's life now is settled. You know, is it the greatest life ever? No, but it's settled. And here's Claire, who they haven't heard. I mean, I can see her perspective. So I have a hard time calling her selfish, because I don't think that she's all about self. I think that she's all about her family. I think that she's all about her brother. And now, granted, maybe it's because it's what she thinks is good for her brother, not what he wants, you know? So I guess, again, selfish has a very negative connotation. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe misguided is a little bit.
Misguided is way too nice, and I'm going with, in this instance, selfish. When she lectures everyone in the room like she's, you know, the mommy, and she's talking to her grown brother who has been through a lot, perhaps she should stop and realize that her actions also affect other people and affect her poor brother who has suffered a lot. Maybe she should just calm down.
All right. I mean, we'll agree to disagree on that one. I do think that Jenny is a very forceful person. Jenny wants what
so that makes it okay that she's berating people and disrespecting. It's about respect. It's about the way she's not treating them with respect.
I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm saying that I think that the reasons that she's doing it in her mind are not because this is what I want. It's because this is what's best for the family.
And why do you get to say? You have a husband who runs his household too, and he has just as much of a say as you do. And your brother, if you don't remember, signed this whole place over to your son when he was going off to die in battle. So if he really felt like it, getting Mr. Ned Gowan back into the picture, he could rip that contract up and he'd be telling your ass what to do. So you need to pipe down, sister.
I don't know. We'll agree to disagree. I think Jenny, I have a soft spot for Jenny. I get it. She is not an easy person to deal with, but I don't hate her because I think that she's coming from a place of...
Are you getting hate out of me? Because I'm just angry with her. I'm angry with her.
I'm getting strong dislike.
No.
I'm getting strong dislike.
There's a difference between disliking someone and disliking someone's actions. In this situation, you bring me back to Lallybroch a month from now when she's, running the place and everything's going well and maybe she's helping out a neighbor. I'm going to love her. But right now, in this situation,
okay. All right, that's good to know.
I dislike the way she treats people because I think that she lectures too much. I understand she's mad. I totally get that she wants to have a back and forth, but it seems like she just wants to get her own opinions out. And she acts like a little baby. I think she acts like a little baby. And finally, at the end of the episode, she's going to go, all right. Like, oh, God. And then, and here's another thing that's funny about Jenny. Sometimes she's in your face And other times she's with the passive aggressiveness that we've also seen in this episode, which I find very interesting because usually people are either going to be directly aggressive or passive aggressive, and she's all got the whole gamut.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. So we discussed Ian and Janet were outside. It was cute, having their little quips back and forth, having their little, he's got his whiskers coming in. Then again, I think Ian has whiskers. Like, what? He's 16. Like, I don't know. Okay. So, I loved it when, Ian and Jamie are off to the side outside, and they're being very respectful of each other, apologizing to each other. Once they all get away from Jenny and her little hissy fit, then those two can have a normal conversation. They got away from Jenny because she's got to be in charge 24/7. And for me, it almost feels like she's like abusive, and they come outside and they can have a nice conversation with each other and go, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come down on you like that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have had Ian. I should have told you up front. Blah, blah. And then bam, have a handshake and everything's done. Because Jenny is nowhere near everybody, bringing her wrath on everybody. So I thought that was a lovely scene between the two of them because they know each other. At some point you have to give someone credit for, they're a good person. You're around them all the time. You grew up with them, whatever. So you're going to give them some leeway. So Ian and Jamie are like, listen, man, I'm sorry. I screwed up, whatever. And it's
They're
done.
like, I love you, man.
I love you, man.
I love you, man.
I love you, man.
Yes. I thought that was awesome. But meanwhile, Jenny and Claire are in the study with the kids. Now, this made no sense to me. Seconds ago, Jenny's berating everybody for this and that, and all her little... And now Claire comes strutting into the room like, I haven't seen you children in years. And Jenny, got to give it to her. She's trying to be nice. I appreciated that. I did. She's trying to be nice. But I did think it was kind of odd coming right off the heels of the last situation that now all of a sudden Jenny's being nice. But again, it's either editing, like maybe there was a little something else in between there.
Well, I think time went by. I mean, is this even like the? It's not like right after that. I think it's later in the day or the next day.
But regardless, that was some heavy duty stuff Jenny was putting down. So for them to go right back to, the children, look how much they've grown, But Jenny, I will give it to her. She was being nice. Whatever. Again, this could be a little of the passive aggression.
I think she's very passive aggressive in this scene.
She was passive aggressive because she was like, they've grown a bit. And
I'll change the baby to Claire. I don't want you to get like your hands dirty.
Yes, and she makes a snide comment about 20 years going by. Well, that's what happens when 20 years go by. And you know what? That I could almost understand more. I would rather she just ran around making the snide comments.
I get it. I get it. Like, she thought that Claire, her beloved brother's beloved wife, died. That was what she was told. She saw the effect it had on him, and she mourned with him.
Right.
So to see her just, I'm back, woohoo!
Right.
And not hear anything, that was her point. Like, if this all happened, if you were separated, I get it. But, like, to not have word from you in 20 years and then you just pop back. I mean, I don't want to, like, rehash this again.
Yeah, how come they didn't mention anything about, because Claire in previous episodes said she thought everybody her excuse was that she didn't really think this, but she said that she thought that everybody at Culloden died. At Lallybroch died. She thought, that's what she told somebody in the last episode or 2 episodes ago, whenever she first came back, and she said, I thought you all died. Like, I thought my husband's family died or something like that.
I don't remember that, but
so
maybe.
She doesn't really bring that up again. You know what I mean? So I also think that Jenny should have just as much disdain for her brother for keeping it from her, but now she finds out he didn't keep it from her because he lied. This is why I'm confused too.
No, she doesn't know.
This is what I'm saying. She doesn't know at this point that Jamie didn't know that Claire was still alive. Like Jamie later tells her, oh, you know, I sent Claire away, and then the British soldiers came and they killed everyone in the village, and I thought she died, but it turns out she escaped.
So that's the thing. You're saying that she. Okay, you're saying that he never told her that story, even though that story is not real. He never told her that story. But the thing is, he didn't not tell her that story. He couldn't talk about it. That's what he said.
Right.
He said he couldn't.
But I guess my point is, right now, she thinks that he knew that Claire was alive. She doesn't have any reason.
No, she doesn't. No, no. She thinks, okay, before she thought Claire died, she doesn't know how.
They never spoke of it.
Jamie won't talk about it, but his beloved wife died. Now she knows that she didn't die right away, that he sent her away to Culloden.
No. They didn't have that conversation yet. Jamie and Jamie.
Not at this point in the episode, but eventually in the episode.
Right. I'm talking about right now. Right now, she sees Claire come back with Jamie. So now she doesn't know that Jamie, as far as she's concerned, Jamie maybe knew she was alive this whole time. So she should be just as annoyed with Jamie as she is with Claire.
I'm so confused. This is so, like, they don't know that we know that they know that we know.
At this moment, from the time Claire walks up on that farm until the time that Jamie tells Jenny that he thought Claire was dead, Jenny doesn't know what Jamie knew about Claire. For all Jenny knows at this moment, now that she's seeing the two of them walk back up.
I don't know that I agree with that. Jenny still knows that Jamie thought she was dead.
How?
And now she is not.
How?
Because Jamie hasn't said different.
Exactly. He hasn't said anything. He never spoke of her.
But why do you think that now she thinks
because
that
she's sitting here going,
Jamie knew that Claire was alive the whole time?
Okay, first of all, I know everybody's going to really like this part because number one, it's, you all do it. You sit and think, wait a minute. This is worse than the time travel. Okay, so Jenny right now is probably like, well, wait a minute. If Claire's been alive all this time, did Jamie know? She and Jamie never discussed Claire. Jamie couldn't speak her name. So Jamie never had a conversation with Jenny otherwise. So for 20 years, Jenny thought Claire's dead and poor Jamie, oh my God. But now that Claire's back, Jenny's thinking, oh my God, like, what the hell's going on here? Did Jamie know that she was alive? Like, what?
I disagree with that. I think Carol thinks that. Carol thinks that.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think it's possible that Jenny's now wondering if her brother thought he knew she was alive this whole time?
No, because I think he says, like, we didn't know she thought she was dead. I think they figured that out.
Okay.
All right, let's move on because we're gonna just like this. This is like a loop.
This is going on, and really it has nothing to do with anything. That was just some little side point I was making about she should be yelling at Jamie just as much as she's yelling at Claire.
Okay.
So she goes through her little passive aggressiveness with Claire and the kids. They're making nice, but she's sticking her little, snide commentary in there about that's what happens when 20 years go by, which again, I don't blame her. I don't blame her for being mad, and I don't blame her for being a little snotty. I think that would be more of my way, but whatever. Jamie, wee Jamie comes along. Now, did you feel like wee Jamie was a little bit like to Claire when he was there too? Because I kind of felt like wee Jamie
wee Jamie, I feel like needs to go move to France or something. Because wee Jamie would just seem too like slick and debonair to live on Lallybroch.
Yeah, wee Jamie has like 17 kids and he's just like skulking around the house in his like nice clothes. Like I was like,
wee Jamie's like,
doing?
When are they all just gonna like die or leave so I can be in charge?
Yes. Then Jenny's like, I don't want to bewilder the baron with a strange face. That's you, Claire. You and your strange 20-year-ago face.
And babies at that age like don't really care, don't really give a shit who's changing them.
Oh, she's
just like
that. She doesn't either. It's a snide comment again.
I know, of course, it's a snide comment.
So Jamie, see, that's my problem too. I hate passive aggression, so maybe that's another reason why I'm having such a hard time with this episode. And meanwhile, I just said I probably would have been passive aggressive too. So just ignore me, you guys. It's confusing. Jamie and Jenny are outside chatting while Jenny's doing the laundry, and Jenny makes a rude comment to Jamie about having bairns to raise, and like, how would you know? And I did feel bad for Jamie because he was like, yeah, how would I know? Like, biatch, how could you say that to me? And I loved, you guys, I'm going there. I'm just telling you right now. Sorry, going there right now. Jamie was huge in this scene. She was this big. She's behind like the wash basin. He's like towering over her. And I'm like, this is what I need. Can't we put him on the Tom Cruise box once in a while? I need Jamie to be so much more huge than everyone else. Can't we just, Jenny's a wee little thing and Jamie's all, well, I loved that so much. So Jenny's bitching at him because he didn't share his grief with her about Claire being dead. So there you go. So she does think that he thinks Claire's been dead all this time. This is where he tells her what supposedly happened, because it didn't. And says he arranged for Claire to hide. Now, this made sense to me. I arranged for Claire to hide, and I gave her money for safe passage to the colonies, which I found to be kind of interesting, because at that time, being shipped off to the colonies was kind of a bad thing.
Well, it was Claire and the Archmere men, basically.
Yeah. So he thought the Brits, we already talked about this, killed her in the village with every man, woman, and child.
Yeah.
So, and then under that, I think he's starting to believe his own bullshit. Like, at this point, there's so much lying going on that I think he's starting to just believe it all.
Right.
Now, do not tell me I hate Jenny, because I have greatest point of the night. Jenny says the Claire she Kent would never have stopped looking for Jamie.
Yes.
And
100%.
that point hit home for me so
Yup.
much. I was like, oh, y'all are not getting anything past Jenny. Don't even think you're going to, because
that
you're
is
not.
the fly in their story.
Oh.
That is the one. That's like the what do they call it in Star Wars? Like the little 2 centimeter hole that like is gonna blow up the Death Star. That's the hole in their story.
I was like, ooh, great point.
Yep.
Great point.
Yep.
And so she knows damn well that this is something stank.
There's something suspicious here.
Yeah. So now Claire and Jamie are in the bedroom having a little chat.
I also have to interject that I am actually at this point, and I think I thought this later, but like all of this Jenny like investigative reporting like makes what happens next make much more sense than in the book, I think.
What do you mean all
like,
of this investigative reporting?
Well, like her whole like, something's fishy about this. Like I don't know about
yeah.
I don't think I don't think any of these stories were in the book. I think the book is just like, Claire thought she was dead and now she's back. I'm not even sure they talk about that she's in the colonies. I don't think there's a cover or anything.
But this
is
weird.
Like,
I'm sorry.
She was dead, now she's back, and Jenny, I don't remember, if there is, correct me, but I don't remember Jenny being like, being all like Columbo with it and being all like, but there's just one problem with your story, Jamie.
I
Claire was funny, it was harder.
You have to remember something. You were the one who threw the book across the room when we found out about Leghair. I did not, Leary, whatever the hell her name is. I did not. I was never mad. You, myself, and Jen M had a 1 hour long conference call when we all got to this point. Yep. And you and Jen were livid and threw the book across the room and were so mad at Jamie. And I was like, you know what? I totally 1,000% understand why he would marry her, because he's lonely and he thinks Claire's dead. And why not? And number two, I totally understood why Jenny would want to get them together. Wasn't it more of Jenny made the match in the book? Because in this, it was like...
Jenny didn't make the match, but Jenny, as soon as she smelt the match, she was all in on the match.
All right. I thought Jenny made the match. I thought that's why Jenny invited Leary.
Maybe you're misunderstanding my point. My point is this. Jenny set this whole... set up the whole, like, Leary comes in and walks in on them.
Right.
Jenny set that. I mean, like you find out later that Janet like told Leary about it.
Right.
Jenny set this all up.
Right.
And she does in the book too. But in the book, she just kind of does, and she does come off as sort of bitchier because of that. Because I don't know that there's a whole lot of explanation behind it. In the show, she's being all Columbo, and she's being all like, well, that story doesn't quite make sense, Jamie, because blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. So it's believable that she would want to, like, somebody's going to tell me the truth somewhere or another. And it's believable, a little more believable that she would, like, cause this discovery to happen.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I will go.
I thought the TV show did a really good job of doing of justifying why Jenny, in some way, shape, or form, contacted Leary and brought her back.
Okay, this is where I'm like taken aback when you're like, "Oh, you hate Jenny." I have no problem with what Jenny did. Sitting here today, after reading the book, I might have bitched about it. I can't even remember. See, I can't even remember. Jenny, here's something that you non-book readers don't know. When Jamie came back from Culloden, he had, I know you've seen like the monstrous scar on his thigh.
It's way worse in the book.
They just mentioned it real quick. They mentioned it real quick. You have no idea the Grand Central Station at my house on a Saturday morning. They mentioned it really quick. They were like, laying in bed and she says, how did you get that? Okay. You non-book readers don't know. We went through pages and pages. Jamie had a massive, pretty much mortal for the time leg wound.
Yeah.
That he laid and was dying from
right.
like in her kitchen in
right.
Lallybroch.
Right. Oh, you know what?
Jenny loved her brother so much that she poured, the only thing she knew how to do to stop the infection, she poured boiling water on her brother's leg.
Right.
Oh, I'm getting chills. To get the wound to kill the wee beasties that she didn't even really understand.
Right.
And to get the wound to, coagulate and stop the pus and kill all the bacteria. She didn't really understand what she was doing, but it worked because it saved him. This is how much Jenny loves her brother. So when Jenny just wants her brother to be happy and is like, hey, I'm going to set this up, I totally understand it. When Jenny's pissed at Claire for leaving and being gone for 20 years and showing up again, I totally understand it. And when Jenny calls up Leghair, because Leghair's been there, Claire hasn't. So when she calls up Leghair, okay, she's not really calling on the phone. when she calls up Leghair,
well, she sends Janet to do it dirty.
Go tell Leghair. When she does that, I don't have a problem with it. Because think about how you would feel, Tracey, think about how you would feel if Tom just like disappeared 20 years ago and left me devastated, and I had this really tough life, not because of Tom. That's what bothers me. It's not Claire's fault that Jamie went through such turmoil. That's what Jenny goes over the top sometimes. But imagine if Tom just had disappeared years ago, and I had a decent life. It wasn't fantastic, but it was real and it was whatever. And then all of a sudden Tom shows up and there's all this mayhem, and you know what I mean? Like, and I'm all, yay, Tom's back. And you're like, hello, do you not remember this? You would be the same way. She's defending and protecting her brother. That's what she's doing.
That's what I said before.
So
that's my whole point
totally understand. My issue was the way she went about treating him. My issue was the disrespect in voicing her disregard. That's all. But I don't blame her for sending Janet to go get Leary. And like I said, it's funny because I have to look at my blog post. I might have cared about it 8 years ago. But I'm watching this and I'm like, you know what? Jenny's doing what she's got to do.
But again, is it because of that, or is it because of the way the TV show, I really think, set it up much like almost better than in the book, because they really put this like doubt in Jenny's mind of like, who's like, I don't know who to believe anymore. So you know what? We're just gonna put this all to a head. We're gonna bring this all to a head. All the secrets are gonna come out. All the lies are gonna come out, and somebody will tell me the goddamn truth around here.
But she did not expect, which how can you know Leary and not expect it? But she did not expect everybody to flip out the way they did.
Right.
Now, notice the one omission. Well, hang on a sec, because I don't know. Claire's telling Jamie that they should tell Jenny at this point. Like, maybe we should just tell Jenny that I'm from 200 years.
Oh, God,
maybe we should tell Jenny that I'm from 200 years in the future. And he says, like, that'll never work. I liked his answer. Jenny's been on this farm her whole life. She doesn't even understand the big city, let alone 200 years in the future. So that's not going to happen.
It was a little weird to me that Claire was so blasé about telling people that. Like maybe we should, maybe we just tell her. I mean, but again, to her point, because her next point, which is a good one, is they told Murtaugh, and Murtaugh like bought it hook, line, and sinker.
But like, Murtaugh saw her come through.
Well,
not in the show, though.
Yeah, in the
not
books,
in the show.
In the books,
in the graphic novel. It's not in the books. It's in the graphic novel, The Exile. It's called, which is the Outlander graphic novel. Murtaugh sees her.
Spoiler, but whatever.
What'd you say?
I said, is that a little spoiler? I don't know, but whatever.
No, it happened 2 books ago.
I guess so. Okay.
The Exile is an Outlander graphic novel, and he
sees Jamie's point of view, basically.
He sees her come through. So Murtaugh sees her come through.
In the books, but I don't think he did in the show.
So now I don't even remember, like, they're talking about this, but this is where I started, like, getting upset. Like, why isn't he trying harder to get Jenny to re-accept Claire? None of this is her fault. Jamie tells Claire about his escape from Ardsmuir, which I thought was a neat thing, and we finally get to see Claire. Yeah, we finally get to see that.
All I know is, like, he's like climbing those rocks, and I'm just like, no wonder he does that Mike P. challenge shit, because, like, my God, like, that must have been some hard shit to do.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't imagine. Now I'm curious as to, like that swimming, like, was it must have been in a tank. It couldn't have been, like, in a real, like, ocean.
I don't know, but Tom, if you want a Tom perspective, Tom was like, oh, he finds a box full of hundreds of thousands,
like
millions of dollars worth of treasure, and leaves it there where he found it. Like,
well, what's he gonna do?
I said, what's he gonna do? He can't.
Proposal, please.
He can't swim with it. But Tom's point was, but he hides it right back where it was, behind the rock, where somebody who knows about it can come back and get it. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, if he had hidden it somewhere else, then.
It's like finding the hidden immunity idol on Survivor.
And we are going to come back to this big time at the end of this, because I have plenty to say about that scene.
I just kind of laughed at what was inside the box, because it really looks like my jewelry box at home.
It's really funny. And you've never been a South Park fan, so you don't understand it when I say all I could hear was Terrence and Phillip saying, "We're hunting for treasure."
Why don't we search for treasure?
So Claire,
I mean, I thought it would be more like just all like jewels and coins. But there's, like, some necklace and, like, some earrings and this and that. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, look. Whereas it, like, okay, all right, we're doing the big, like, silky find the treasure scene. Somebody run over to Claire's and just buy out the whole store.
Yes, exactly. And I have to also throw it in right now, because this is where it makes sense that I was actually very disappointed that we didn't see Lord John, because in the coming attractions for this, or no, in the past, last time on Outlander, they showed, Lord John being like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, he's not in here. I just am. You have no idea how excited I am that I love Lord John so much, because I always, in the beginning, I didn't like Lord John.
Lord John fan.
I became a Lord John fan, but I was never a huge Lord John fan. But now with this casting, I think I'm going to be a huge Lord John fan. So I was actually disappointed that we didn't get to see Lord John. Okay, so Claire talks about being without Jamie. I found this to be very sad, and I remember blogging a lot about this. I remember writing a blog post one time that I'm going to definitely dig out today, where I said, in a way, Claire suffered more than Jamie. You know what I mean? Like,
I would agree with that, yeah.
You always think about poor Jamie on the floor in Ardsmuir under the bench in the cold, the cold floor, the cold hard floor, or poor Jamie having to deal with Hellwater. Although Hellwater in the show was a hell of a lot nicer than it was in my Hellwater in my mind when I was reading the books. And what he went through with Leghair, and just the it ages you, all of that, and then moving to Edinburgh and dealing with sedition and being a bootlegger and all this stuff. Like, it was upsetting, right? Jamie, you're always like, poor Jamie. And I think it finally hit me maybe around now, like, my God, the doldrums, the day in and day out for Claire. Mm-hmm. She thinks he's dead this whole time. he at least thinks like she's alive and well and raising my child. It's heartbreaking, but he thinks she's alive. She went through 20 years thinking he's dead.
Well, he hopes she's alive. I mean, he doesn't know. He doesn't really know if she even made it through stones.
And Tracey always said to me from day one, Carol, he's been dead since you read the first page of the first series. Like, he's 200 years old. He's dead. So, but that's all I kept thinking of was Claire thinking that he died at Culloden, some horrific death, and going through her life like there's nothing more. Even Frank's got a girlfriend.
Here's the difference. Jamie, in the book, well, I mean, you know, you can imagine him doing the show too, but every night, we said this last week, every morning and every night, he would say a prayer. Lord, that you be saved, she and the child. Claire had no prayer to say.
Right. Now,
Claire had no prayer to say. There was nothing she could pray for.
Right.
So at least Jamie had hope.
Right.
For something.
Right.
To be keeping going.
Right.
Claire had nothing.
And
TV Claire, at least book Claire, you know, and I don't think this is a spoiler to say that, like, you know, she and Frank were still, like, they had a better relationship in the book, I think, than they did in the TV show. So, yeah, her life was just, like, it was all about, and maybe that shows you why being a doctor and jumping in to, like, save even, like, the dude that tried to kill her last week is so important to her, because this is literally, other than Brianna, this is literally the only thing she had for 20 years. The only thing she had for 20 years.
Right.
So that's so there's an importance to that she just can't shake once she goes into the past.
Right. And he's had intimacy as well. And you know, it wasn't love. He didn't love any of them, but she's had nothing. She's had Frank in another bed for 20 years.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm remembering now how I felt when I was reading the books, which is a kudos to the show and production that they're bringing this out in me again. And again, I like to mention things for the non-book readers sometimes, that this was very, very hard for Claire. And we don't really see in that respect, but it was very hard for her to be away from him for 20 years and to have nothing. You know, like Tracey said, she didn't have nothing, but, you know, my life goes along as it should. It's all very nice, but not very good. Barry Manilow. Okay, so Claire talks about being without him, and Jamie tells her the nice story, which I couldn't understand and I couldn't remember. What's the animal that mates for life?
Oh, I don't know, but it was a bird, I think. No, because Claire was saying every time she heard a bird song, she thought it was, you know, she thought of Jamie, and she, like, imagined him. And
cue the bird.
It was like a grackle or something. I don't know.
Cue the bird on the windowsill. So so he tells her about a bird that mates for life, and it will be if you kill it, you better kill its mate, because it's just going to be devastated and call out for the rest of its life and die of sorrow. So so then I have, now Jamie does something totally ridiculous in many ways. He starts to tell Claire that he's married. And then in all caps I have, wrong. He happens to do it now, seconds before Leghair walks in the room.
Well, okay. Yes, that's you know, extremely coincidental, and like clearly that's a dramatic.
Can't blame Diana Gabaldon because she didn't write it that way.
I mean, she didn't in the books, none of this. The first time you know that he has a wife is when she walks in.
Oh no, it's when her daughter walks in.
And
Tracey, might you want to tell them what's happening when the daughter walks in the books?
Tell. Yeah. Now, I will tell you that it was a very different TV show and book. Were very different, but I really liked how they approached it in the TV show.
Yes,
I really liked how they did it.
Yes.
It made me understand why the reveal was last week, and why we understood that Jamie had a new wife. We just didn't know who it was. I don't know if you are not a book reader, if you could kind of figure it out. Certainly you were able to figure it out by all the, I'm not going to use this swear word because it's deserving of it, all of the fucking stills of Leghair or Leary, all over the fucking internet.
I don't understand that one bit.
The hell, people, come on.
Have a heart.
You
Have a
know,
heart. There's a lot of people, who don't read the books.
there's somebody out there who hasn't read the book and didn't guess that it was Leary.
Yeah.
Then that saw those pictures. Whatever.
Yeah, but isn't that totally? You're not supposed to be doing that. Like,
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Somebody should be pulling that shit off.
And that's not a case of me being like jealous. Like, hey, how come I didn't get that? I would never do that. And you guys, if you did it, if you're somebody who did it is watching this, I'm sorry, because I don't mean to berate you like Jenny berates everyone. But why? Like, that's the biggest reveal in this.
My take on it is that the assumption by everybody that makes this show is that, 80% of the people who watch it are book readers and already know everything. So it doesn't matter. They don't make that assumption in Game of Thrones. Nobody was. Oh, I can't spoil Game. Can I spoil the Red Wedding at this point? It's been like.
Oh yeah, you guys don't pay attention.
Like the week before the Red Wedding episode was all like, oh, R.I.P. Rob Stark.
Yeah.
So sad to see you go.
Right.
I mean, like, okay. Anywho, but that aside, I thought it was really well done. Because you guys don't know, as book readers, again, you have no inkling until Claire and Jamie are like same setup, but they're getting busy. Nothing's been said. Door opens and you hear, "Daddy, who is that woman?"
Yeah.
Boom. That's where you throw them. You have no clue. And after that, as a reader, you're like, Jamie Fraser, we are on a break because I'm sorry, you suck, man. Yes, I love you, but like, you suck. You're a dumb mofo. How could you have pulled this shit on Claire? You are, oh my God, I hate you. I never want to see you again. That's what you were like as a book reader. At least as a TV show viewer, at least he was trying to come clean. I mean, he's still an idiot for like not telling her.
Yeah.
Clearly it's hard to tell her. Clearly he's like so afraid that she's going to leave him again if he tells her this. And he's not like thinking clearly in terms of like, if he had told her up front right away at the print shop, I have to tell you something. I'm married, but like it's not like we haven't lived together in a year, and clearly you're back now, and that nulls and voids that, and I want you, whatever. But at least he's trying to come clean to her. At least he's trying.
Right. Well,
so I yes, it's like, at that moment, the girls come in and whatever. But.
Well, no, I know why they did it that way. Because they can't have any time go by. They can't have her walking around town knowing he's married. Like, you're not going to change the story that much.
Right.
I don't know. Why did he tell her in the show?
Because it made him more. I was going to say likable, but that's not it. I mean, again, if he doesn't tell her and they just walk in, he's a douche. He's a complete douche. And I don't think that they wanted that in the show. I thought
he was a complete.
I mean, he's less of a douche now. And he can justify to Claire why he did it. I thought it was a good instance to me of how it was a good instance to me of, and a good moment of understanding for me how the way they took it in the book would never work on TV.
Well, I guess. I don't know.
Like drew a certain reaction from you. That was good because, as you said before, you want to be engaged in a book for good or bad.
Right.
The TV show would have just made his character so like awful. I think it did what the TV show needed to do.
I guess.
In my mind.
Well, it's more shock.
So you would rather have them just like flop into bed, get busy, and the girls come in on the TV show.
No, I didn't. I never said that.
How did you? Because you didn't. It doesn't sound to me like you liked the way they did it.
No, I haven't said a word about what I thought about the whole thing. I didn't really have a problem with it. I think that I've been bothered for weeks that they keep mentioning his wife, and that the it wasn't a big reveal. It was just a big reveal. Her identity was a big reveal.
Right.
And she was in the room. Like in the books, it was just Marcelly and Joanie coming in, and Marcelly's like, duh, or daddy, who is that woman? But once again, I didn't really have that much of a problem with the fact that the way the show did it. My problem originally was that they kept having these little wife comments, and I was like, do you want to know something? I don't know about the rest of you guys, but Teresa didn't know. This is so funny. Teresa didn't know. She still didn't pick up on it.
That he was married?
She did not pick up on the fact that he was married. She said,
well, they did if you weren't listening, it could have slipped right by you.
But you know why she wasn't listening, and we won't even get into this now, but I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Her
kids were bugging her about something?
No, she thought last week was boring. She started practically falling asleep, so that's not good, because I hope the rest of the non-book readers didn't feel that way. But, so this was going on. And so this is going to be a real big reveal for Teresa this week. So anyway, let's get back to this. So I did think it was funny, her commentary. Leghair's yelling and screaming, and there's lots of bad words coming out of Leghair for a woman of that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, and it might be jumping the gun a little bit, but do you think that Jamie was able to justify, okay, one big difference in the book and in this show is that, and I think we might have talked about this a little bit, although maybe not, because we haven't revealed that it's Laoghaire who's the wife. So in the book, the whole witch trial thing from Outlander, Laoghaire's just this young, dumb little girl, and she is I love Jamie, and Claire's stealing him from me, and so I'm gonna get him back. I'm leave this ill wish in her bed, and I'm gonna have her send her over to Gillis Duncan's house or whatever. Well, they'll get her out as a they'll arrest her. But Laoghaire's not really involved with the trial. She doesn't show up as a star witness. She's not sitting there in the front row, cheering on, they're burner.
Right.
She just makes a mistake. She's just this dumb kid making a mistake. The TV show Laoghaire, on the other hand, is very involved in it. She's right there, front and center, woohoo!
She's the villain. She needs to be.
So it was more believable, that Jamie would be okay with marrying the Laoghaire who, just made this dumb mistake because she has a crush on a boy, whatever, as opposed to the Laoghaire who, as Claire said, really tried to get her killed.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure that they really dealt with that issue. And again, I've only watched it once, so maybe they did it. I'm just not remembering.
When was that silly?
Because Claire brings it up. Claire really does say her really.
When?
Sorry, a little homina.
When was that episode where Laoghaire was doing laundry and you thought it was so ridiculous? And
that was last season, and yeah, she was like a psycho.
That was post witch trial.
Yes. Oh, Jamie. Okay.
And Claire.
But that episode was so ridiculous.
But Claire, hold it.
Yes.
Claire told Jamie
to be nice to her.
Right. So Jamie was not thinking of her as such the villain. Because Claire, not only was he told be nice to her, he was told by Claire. Now, I did love the exchange where he's like, well, you told me to be nice to her. And she's like, I didn't tell you to marry her. That was so awesome.
But you know what? There you go. That you're absolutely right. I forgot about this. That episode, and you remember, that's probably my least favorite episode of the whole series. I thought it was so stupid. I thought it was so sitcom-y. And I thought it was so unbelievable because that Claire, all of a sudden, it's here's this woman. It's like when Claire tries to save her rapist.
Oh, God, don't get me started.
Potential rapist. It's Claire, this woman tried to have you killed. Why are you sending your husband off to be nice to her?
Right.
But that is sort of the justification. Okay, I get it. You know, and Claire was so stupid in that episode that she deserves that Jamie married her.
Oh my God. That was just, yeah. So
I get it. Okay.
So,
okay.
And again, you know, again, I never had a problem with him marrying her. I had a problem with him not.
I had a problem with it in the book.
I had a problem with him not telling her, but I never ever had a problem with him marrying her. You know,
I did the TV show because of how they portrayed her character in the TV show. In the book, I did not. Like I said, she was just a stupid young girl with a crush,
right?
Who like did a dumb thing.
Well,
in the book, I mean, in the TV show, she was like a conspirator.
In the book, it always bothered me that Claire never told Jamie that it was Leary that sent her off to Gillis's. Right. That always bugged the crap out of me.
Right, which is another reason why it's believable that Jamie would marry her.
Yes, there are a few things that bug me to no end. That's one. And two is him telling, now, I don't know, maybe we'll find out more later. Him telling Claire, this isn't a show thing, him telling Claire about Willie, and Claire says, did you love his mother? And he just says no. I'm like, you know what? Claire can handle it. Tell her the whole story. Tell Claire, because I want.
Yeah, of course.
I want Claire to know that I wouldn't have even done that, but she blackmailed me. I had to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that'll.
He probably tells her the story off book or whatever.
Well, off book. I personally, I would have liked to have seen it, but again, that was never in the book either that I remember. So that's just one of those things that I am like, oh, I really wish we could have seen him do this, or we could have read about him doing this. But anyway, let's keep going. He has a cute little chat. We see Jamie outside with wee Joanie. And he and wee Joanie, I'm very conflicted about this scene because on the one hand, I think it's absolutely adorable and they're really establishing that she felt like Jamie was her da. And like, you know, you're really realizing that he married Leghair more for the kids, you know what I mean?
Right, for the family, and that this is why this is really difficult for him. I mean, if it was just Leghair, bye.
Right.
Don't let the door hit you on your way out. But it's not. It's this adorable, sweet little girl who clearly worships him.
Right. Now, but
I
why?
loved every minute of that little scene. I thought it was brilliant.
I'm kind of tired of getting into what was in the producers' minds. But my question is why? Like, why do we need that scene? What is that scene? What is that scene showing us that we wouldn't have seen or known had they not had that scene?
I will absolutely say this. I loved it. I thought it was so smart to put that scene in. Because again, it gives you a level of why Jamie's conflict. It layers on another level of the conflict. I've read these books. I probably read Voyager 3 or 4 times. I wouldn't have thought that. Because it doesn't really deal, this scene is not in the book. And it doesn't really deal with Joan and Marcelly's at that point, relationship with Jamie. You know, you're just kind of like, yeah, they're along for the ride. Well, no, this scene proves they're not just along for the ride. This scene proves that he's a really important force in their lives. And that's why it's not as easy as just like sending for Ned Gowan and, you know, shipping Leary off to Jabib. He really does not want to hurt these 2 young girls. And he really cares about them. And it made me think about stuff that I'd never thought about before with Jamie.
I don't know.
I just thought it was so, and it just, I mean, oh my God, the chance to see Jamie as a dad to a young girl. Are you kidding me?
They were together for how long?
I loved it so much. Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
How long were they together?
A year and a half. And again, play fast and loose with the time.
Okay.
I get it.
I'm going to say this now.
All right.
How long were they together? And how long's it been since he's been gone? How much time did he really spend in that house with these girls?
I 100% agree with you.
According as far as Leary goes, all she wants him for is his money. She doesn't care about him. She just wants the protection and she just wants someone to pay for her.
Right, and I think if there wasn't
where are the other 2 husbands? And
they're dead. They died. She's a widow twice over. They said that.
Did they leave her nothing?
I guess not.
So
She's not very
she's
smart when she's
using,
married
and
people.
at what point is Jenny going to wake up and go, Leghair is pretty much using my brother for, I guess, hopefully when he got shot.
I don't think, well, you know what? I disagree. I don't think she ever really, I think, she sees Jamie Fraser is available. Those 16-year-old loins are stirring. Even 20 years later.
No, they were never stirring. She never loved him. She never wanted him.
What?
Why do you think the marriage didn't work out? He said it in the episode. She feared me, and I can't be with a woman who fears me. Be with a woman who fears me. Like, that was the whole point in the book, was that she was cold. She was frigid with Jamie. And he's like, look, maybe something happened with one of the first husbands that I didn't know about. Like,
are we talking day to day, or are we talking in the bedroom?
Well, he said they would go weeks, both. They went weeks for a time without even talking. And he said that was good because when they did talk, all they did was argue. I mean, we're talking about a marriage that lasted how long? Was it even 2 years?
I don't remember how long it was in the book either.
The bottom line is she married him, and yes, she might have had part of that schoolgirl, Jamie Fraser. But she wanted, and I'm not even going to take it away from her. Look, these kids need a dad, and we need some help around here. You know what I mean? I get that. But she didn't love him. She married him thinking it would be okay. Maybe she tried. That's what I remember from reading. She tried and she just couldn't do it. And he always led you to believe that maybe she was abused by a former husband. And that's why she was so frigid with him. I mean, don't you remember?
We've had this conversation before. It's all coming back to me now. And it's a very interesting conversation to have. And I think that it might be a conversation for the future as well.
For the future.
Yes.
Yes.
But I have said all along, because it's all coming back to me, there were two people in that marriage. And I think you're piling on Leary. I shouldn't be accusatory. I don't want to pile on Leary for being like, she didn't love him, she married him for his money, because I think that if you look at it from her perspective, I think that she was still a little bit starry-eyed for Jamie Fraser. But I don't think that Jamie Fraser was a picnic to live with. I'm going to go right out there and say that.
That's interesting. But that's not something that's ever been revealed to us.
No. I think Leary married him out of, if not love, certainly infatuation. Certainly, she wasn't like a gold digger. This is like Jamie. I've had a thing for him my whole life. Jamie Fraser thought he was going to spend his life with Claire. Clearly that's not happening. I think a little part of him maybe thought, she might be able to come back. Maybe she didn't end up going. Maybe she'll find me. Maybe she's not really dead. Clearly when he goes to the Silkies, that's what he's thinking. Eventually, he comes back from Hellwater. Jenny had a lot to do with this, too. I think Jenny was probably very much like, you need to start living your life again. You need to, put the past away. You need to start moving forward. And he's like, okay, fine. She's there, okay? He knows her from years ago. She's pretty.
He remembers her trying to get his wife to burn.
Well, I'm leaving that out for now. She has those two little daughters. Maybe they remind him of maybe one of them is as old as Faith would be now. Maybe, probably not. Faith would be a little older, but whatever.
You're giving all the reasons for him to marry her.
No, hold on. I'm given what his mindset was like in the marriage.
You don't have to. I know.
But he doesn't, but this isn't Claire. So even as he marries her, it's not the smartest move it's not the smartest move to do. But he goes into that marriage kind of not caring. So if you're Leary and you're all like, I'm marrying Jamie Fraser, woohoo, I'm so happy. And day one starts and you're like, okay, Jamie Fraser, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know, whatever you want to know. I've always thought that again, there were two people in that marriage, and yes, Leary is a nut job, but I don't think Jamie was a picnic to live with either. That's what I'm saying.
I always took it from all the problems stem from the bedroom.
Well, yes, and I will agree with that, and I will say that Jamie, and I think Jamie said this, that one of those two husbands of Leary's, like, you know, like effed her up in the bedroom. Much the way poor Morwenna is in Poldark is just going to be like, oh my God, when Drake finally gets to marry her, because you know that's coming at some point.
Boy.
She's just going to be like effed up beyond belief with that like freak that she just had to marry.
I assure you my love will be returned.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
No, I think that Jamie probably tried with her. Yes, I think in the bedroom she was probably pretty scarred from one of the previous husbands. And Jamie probably tried. But, you know, at the end of the day, Jamie was probably frustrated. I don't know. I think that I don't ever want to see it from just, you know, Jamie's perspective of she was a real bitch and a shrew and I couldn't deal with her. I think there were two people in that marriage, and I think that there were just as many issues on Jamie's side to her. If you talk to Leary about what that marriage was like, I think you'd get a very different story.
I think half and half. I think you're right. But I think you're thinking like you're delving way into stuff you don't know. Like I don't look at this as the day-to-day, and frankly it's Jamie Fraser. He's a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. You know, I saw this as, again, I think we all know why he married her. He's lonely. He says it. I was lonely.
Right.
I was lonely. I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a husband. And when he went to Hogmanay, he was at Lallybroch, and Hogmanay came along, and they were all dancing and having fun. And those kids came over and, you know, asked him if he wanted to dance. And then he danced with them, and he started feeling a little bit of what it would feel like to be a dad and a husband.
A little bit. But
to be a dad, but not a husband. But then, there's Leary in the other room. Now, first of all, you know Leary took those girls and said, get in there and bring him some sweets and ask him to dance. You know Leary set that whole thing up. You know Leary was like...
Could be. Or Jenny might have sent it up, too.
Leary was like... So you know my girl Leary was like, oh, I'm going to walk out of here with Jamie Fraser on my arm. So, and again, I would... Oh, what's happening? The time?
No, we're an hour and a half in.
I would not blame... Well, we're going to race through the rest of this. I would not blame her. Who would blame her? This is where I've always said I saw the whole thing and I didn't really have a problem with the marriage because she's, you know... this older broad now, like myself, 2 kids, doesn't have a husband. Who wouldn't want, you know, a nice man to come and be the husband and the father? She knows her girls need a father, but she needs money. I'm not saying that she was like, money, you, whatever. But I'm just saying that that was a big factor was once it went forward and once she thought she wasn't going to have that money is when it really comes out. And then, well, we'll get to that, but the lawyer and all this kind of stuff.
I think, though, that they deliberately, the kids were a really important part of all this. And another change they made from the book to the TV show is that at the Hogmanay party, I think it's Leary that asks him to dance, and he, you know, dances with her. In the book. In the show, it's those kids.
Okay, you know what? I like the show.
Another horrible thing.
I like both. I don't have a problem with her asking him.
I just loved this layer of the kids.
The show makes more sense that she sicks the kids on him, and Jamie Fraser is no match for a couple of adorable young girls. Right. So of course she used her daughters to land him, and it worked. And because that's maybe what the producers, the writers, maybe that's what they all said was, look, if they got together because she asked him to dance and they had a lovely night out dancing the night away, then why would they have such, you know, issues in the intimacy arena in the marriage? So maybe we'll make it from the get-go that the girls really are the ones who attracted him to the whole dad and husband thing, and the husband thing didn't work out. So you know, I get all of that. I will never ever take it away from him that he was a lonely man, and Claire wasn't ever coming back.
Right.
So he was like, you know what? It's been 20 years. At that point, it's been 18 years. I'm lonely. I live here. I watch all this go on without me. Why I'm going to, if you can't beat them, join them. What am I doing? Why can't I? So he jumped in and all right, now I'm thinking, I just noticed that I'm the only one in this house right now for like the next 30 seconds. And I'm wondering if there's any dirty things that I want to say that I couldn't say before.
I don't know, but we have to move on because this video is like way
All right,
long.
the bottom line
I
is she did not want to have sex with him. That is the issue. She didn't want to have sex with him. He knew it. He tried. Now, maybe he wasn't all leery because, yeah, he was still pining for Claire. So he was.
And I think he was damaged.
Just
I
like,
think
just like Claire couldn't look at Frank. Jamie couldn't really be 100% into that sexual relationship
100%.
with Leary.
Yep,
so maybe that is possibly what caused her to be like, I don't even want to be with you anyway. So, all right. So if we move on, Jamie and Claire are now fighting. Jamie's trying to explain this whole thing. And I felt bad for both of them when Claire's like, 2 kids. And he's like, oh, I'm not the father. And then she's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like that young girl has red hair. And then I laughed at his comment, but I was like, Jamie, you take a step back. Because he's getting to be like this sarcastic little, I'm not the only redhead in Scotland, Claire. And I'm like, oh no, you are in no position to be sarcastic right now, Pally. You will step back and take your lumps. I was not happy with that, although I did visually find it funny as hell.
It was
and
funny,
audibly, yeah, I thought that was funny as hell.
I think that whole scene was great. I think they played it really well. Right out of the book.
The way that it's written in the book, it is not an easy scene. And it's not always easy to show that aspect of we were so mad at each other that you know what I mean?
Right.
So I thought they did a lovely job with that. Now he's trying to make it look like it's okay. I brought this up before because Claire told him to be nice to Leghair. So obviously, and in all caps, I have, oh my God, please shoot me now. Please, please, please. Because I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? And this is where I was getting mad at Jamie. Not mad at Jamie for the debacle, not mad at Jamie for the situation at hand, mad at Jamie's reactions, mad at Jamie's reactions here, mad at Jamie's non-reactions before. I was starting to question Jamie Fraser, and I get it. He's a man. He's damaged. He's not perfect. You shouldn't want this God complex, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is Jamie was pissing me off, and now it's happening again and again, and I didn't like his... Like I said, I thought that was a pretty flip comment about the redheads in Scotland. So she says,
I didn't have that reaction. I thought it was a really great scene. I thought they were both pissed off and, somewhat, I mean, yes, he kind of doesn't have a leg to stand on, but, I thought it was really great.
Good. She says, you told me about your son. Why couldn't you tell me about this? And he says, because I'm a coward. That's why. Now
I loved it.
I did like that. And that was from the book too.
Yep.
Like, not that told you about it was a son, but he did call himself a coward in the book.
Yeah,
and
because he was so afraid of her leaving.
So afraid. You guys got to realize, the ones who haven't read the books, he never told her about Willie either. He basically told her what she was on a need to know basis until he could get her there long enough to reestablish this relationship. Right. And then he was going to, do I agree? Do I agree? No. Right. I'm sure we've all had a few things in our own life that we could look back and say, you should have told me before XYZ. Right. But whatever. So,
what?
Even though you left me, he says.
Oh, yeah. This is in the book, too.
I don't remember.
This is in the book. Yep.
Him turning the tables in the book and blaming Claire for leaving him?
Yeah. No, I'm fairly certain that was
I was like, what?
I'm fairly certain that was in the book.
It was always a 50-50 situation. It was always both of them 100% saying, you need to go back through those stones. She first tried to fight it, Jamie, I don't want to leave you. But she went begrudgingly.
She knew it was the best thing to do.
But she went begrudgingly. She didn't want to go. She was like, no, I'm staying here with you. You're crazy. And he was like, no, I want you to go. And he used the whole briefing. Oh, go raise the bairn. Go back to Frank, he said. Yep. Go back to Frank and raise my bairn. Do that for me, Claire. Give me this gift is basically what he was saying to her. Mm-hmm. And she begrudgingly went. And now he's going to turn around and say to her, you left me here Talk about throwing the book across the room. I almost kicked my TV.
Really? I am almost 100% that he says that in the book. And like she's incensed. And rightly so. But again, it so shows you the levels of what he felt those 20 years. And, you know, anger at her. And by her, it's really like the situation, I guess. But like, totally understandable that he would feel that way. But yeah, I mean, that was a rough thing to say. But I'm absolutely sure he says it in the book too, and I'm absolutely sure she has the same reaction, which is like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Sorry.
Okay, I don't remember, which is why I said in the beginning of this video, like this to me was like the "Did this happen in the book?" Episode, big time. But I was not happy with that at all, whether it's from the book or not. Like, how dare you? How dare you? She's not the reason your life has been shit for the past 20 years, and you made her go. Right. I got to move on because I'm going to just lament this.
Yeah. But again, I get it. I get why he said it. I'm not saying it was the right thing to say, but that's how he's feeling. Right. That's how he's feeling.
Right. The
For
writers,
good or bad, that's how he's feeling.
But the writers and the producers all basically probably said, all right, now how are we going to handle this? Because human emotion, like you're talking about feelings, yes, he is going to say, you know, he's eventually going to lash out and say, like, you left me. Like, there's going to be some blame. There's going to be some resentment toward her for having a real life and a husband and all of it. Okay? There is human nature. There's going to be resentment. Yes.
She got to raise Rihanna. He didn't get to do it. That's resentment right there, and it's going to come out. It's going to come out some way.
I don't want it to come out. I don't want to see it. I want to hear it. I want nothing.
I don't want to hear about it.
My Jamie Fraser understood that he sent her and he made her and would never have turned that table on her. And I was grossed out that he would use that against her, whether it's human emotion or not.
You're going to agree to disagree because I
thought
it was real.
I think I'm agreeing with you, but I get to be pissed. Just like you get to be pissed that he was stupid and didn't tell her and blah, blah, blah. I get to be pissed that he would throw this back in her face when he's the one who made her to go in the first place. Right.
I guess I'm looking at I'm looking at it like from outside the show, just kind of like as a story. You're really feeling more what Clara's feeling. You're like like relating to the character.
I'm putting myself in Clara's position. Yeah. So, and I'm also, you know what? I'm a bit of an underdog lover too. And in this whole episode, Claire's the underdog because everyone's beating up on her. Right. So notice Tom's not around for this conversation. No, he's not home. Okay, so basically we already talked about what I had next, which was the fact that he is making it sound like he's the only one who had a shit life. And she's like, hello, let me tell you about my great life while you were gone, and about Frank and everything, and it sucked. So he tells her that he would have done anything to keep her and from leaving and everything. And the fight ensues, and then the fight turns in, the passion of the fight takes over. And everybody's rolling around on the floor, which I thought was done so well because, you guys, it was just like this in the book. Yes. And it was so much fun to read, and it was so much fun to watch. Right. And when the water came from the doorway...
I wanted more water. It didn't feel like there was that much water.
I have to tell
had a little bucket, like a cup-sized bucket.
Okay, you know what I really loved about this scene? It bothered me, but at the same time, I loved it. This is something so dumb that probably no one even noticed. Like it's even more silly than the peanut butter sandwich that she took back with her. Yeah. When Jenny throws the water and says, "You're fighting and rocking up here," and Claire like pulls it on down. I'm like picturing like, you know, oh my God, like that is what it like a teen would do if they got caught. You know what I mean? I thought it was so cute. I loved the way they did that. So he tells her, oh, what does he say right before they start? He says, does he say, "I love you, I'll no hurt you"? Right as she's like, "Get off me." and then they kind of down onto the floor, and they're like wrestling, and then he's right in her face, and I couldn't make it out. I listened to it twice.
I don't know.
I think he says, I love you, I'll not hurt you. Anyway,
I only watched it once.
And I loved the positioning. Claire was in in a position of power in that, and I liked that too. And I think I think that was probably done on purpose. I don't remember that from the book either. So, Tracey, do you think people don't realize how long this is going to be? So Jenny,
I'm more like, I need to like start working. Like, I need to get stuff done. So.
Okay, so yeah, I have a life. Okay, so now, Claire is now in front of the fire with Janet. I loved this because Janet was bitchy from the moment she showed up to Ian, to Claire, whatever. I love that Janet offers her a whiskey and admits that she was the one who did it. And then she tells her, yeah, my mom kind of made me do it.
Did you notice that Claire had a new outfit on?
At that moment, I thought she was just wearing her white nightgown.
Oh, all right. No. Oh,
her
no.
shift.
God,
she was in her shift.
Go. Oh, my God. Okay. I'm thinking that they're all back in the living room. Okay, no.
No, she was in her shift. I got to be honest with you. Claire's stupid dress is getting on my last nerve. They need to get her something out of Jenny's closet.
They did. Well, this is the thing. Like, later on, they're all sitting in the living room. And Claire had an outfit just like Jenny's with that, like, white piece down here. Oh. And I was like, oh, all right. Somebody found Claire some new clothes. Then when they go to Silky Island, she's back with the old clothes.
Yeah. Well, that's her traveling clothes.
Oh, okay.
Like Dad used to do. Our father is still so mad that people travel on a plane in sneakers and jeans, because when he was a young man, you would get dressed up for your flight.
Oh, yeah.
And Mom would say, I had my honeymoon outfit. Okay, so in walks Jenny, and they get into it again. Jenny's bitching at people again. And Claire tells her about Frank and being married.
That was a little weird. Yes, what? Agreed. Maybe that's why, because Jenny was all like, Claire would have looked for him. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that was the reason why she didn't look for Jamie, because she married somebody else.
Was her point, that she went back and met Frank and married Frank?
I think so.
Because she's like, I had a husband in America. And I'm thinking, a little late to be telling her this now. Okay. So Claire tells her about Frank, and I'm just like, I guess maybe this is Claire's way of, Claire always said from day one that Frank always taught her, stick to as close of the truth as you possibly can when you're lying. So maybe that's why she's like, I better, this will make sense to her. She understands. She loves her husband. She'll understand having a, or maybe she'll understand because Jamie went and married somebody else. So isn't it kind of normal that I would have too? And that's why I couldn't even think to come back, whatever. And then she says she came back and looked at it to look at his gravestone and to let him go and blah, 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 blah. So I was annoyed at this point that Claire's not yelling at Jenny, like, don't you think I missed him for 20 years? What it bothered me that I felt like Claire didn't stand up for herself with Jenny, but whatever, that's a side point. And Jenny's like, look, you're telling me the truth. I'm picking up what you're putting down here, but there's something still missing. And I'm like, oh, Jenny, judge and jury, isn't 100% happy with what she's hearing. She's hearing some truth, but she's not 100% happy. And Jenny is all-knowing. Jenny picks up on the fact that there's something missing from this story. Story has holes, massive chasm. So, walks away pretty indignant. I have some choice words that I will skip on my notes. Jenny and Ian are chatting, and I love this scene possibly more than any other scene in the entire
I like the scene too. When they're cleaning up the mess that Jamie and Claire left.
Yes. Ian tells Jenny, what's what, baby? And I have, thank God someone's got a blanking brain. I love this, and she quiets down for him, doesn't she? I love that aspect because he knows how to handle her. And handle her he does throughout most of not just this episode, but their lives. But when push comes to shove, Ian's going to say one quiet thing that is going to shut her down.
Never forget, Ian is in charge in that relationship.
Ian is in charge.
100,000%.
Yes. And I do love, it's not like I love that the man's in charge. I just love that Jenny has her say, and Jenny's a strong woman, and Jenny's not afraid to speak her mind, but at the same time, she has respect for him behind closed doors, just the two of them. And I wish she'd show him a little more respect out in the open. Right. But when push comes to shove, she respects him and he gets through to her. That's the thing. When nobody else can get through to her, possibly because Claire's not sticking up for herself, and Jamie sure as shit isn't sticking up for her, he is able to get through to her while they're behind closed doors. And let me tell you something. Just when you think I hate Jenny, because I have, does this look like happiness to you? And in all caps, great line. That is what drives the point home that Jenny is just looking out for her brother. I love that because makes a great point. Really? He just wants some little happiness? Because it certainly doesn't look like happiness to me when they're upstairs throwing things at each other. Mm-hmm. So that is pretty...
Breaking our lamps.
Yeah, man. Now I got to go upstairs and clean that up. Because Lord knows none of these
and buy a new one.
None of these other bairns are going to do it. No, sir. So, So I love that line. Then Jamie and Claire are outside. Claire's leaving. Claire's like, I've packed my bags and I'm going home. And I'm sorry, but her outfit to me always reminds me of Mary Poppins. I have to say there have been a couple times that I'm like, why are we shooting him from this angle? Because Claire's hair is up in a tight bun. Her hair's going nowhere. But poor Sam's hair is flying here and flying there, pieces here and pieces there. And I'm like, I guess we're trying to be real. I don't know. But I did wish that they had maybe stuck him where Claire was and let him because it was distracting me. You know what I mean? Then again, you know me and distraction squirrel. So Jamie says that he's had only one love in his life, and that is Claire. And that's when Leary shows up with a gun.
She's like, I think you mean two, Jamie.
Yeah. And says, there's the truth of it then. And I have, oh my God, this is like Young and the Restless. She just happens to show up. Right. And again, this is Gabaldon. This is why Gabaldon is a good storyteller, because she keeps you on your toes. And honestly, it's the truth. That's why it's so much fun to read her books. So there's Leary with a gun. And this is where I'm like, yeah, Leary, who's going to provide for me? That was bad. She's about to tell Jamie that even though he doesn't love her, she knows doesn't really love her, but he provided for her. She's starting to say that, and then bam, the gun goes off and she shoots him.
So she doesn't really mean to shoot him, I don't think.
No, the gun went off. I guess,
the gun goes off.
Deal. So then, but she did show up with a gun, loaded,
right,
cocked and loaded,
pointed at it.
Right. So Claire, I love when Claire's like, and pushes Leary.
Oh my God! I wanted Claire to clock her one. I really did.
Well, that was the first time in the entire episode. Well, maybe not the first time. She stuck up for herself to Jamie, but that was the first time that I was like, she did what I was feeling. All of that came out, and I wish she would have done it more. But I think they were probably like, look, talk about distraction. That's not what the scene is about. It's not about, you know what I mean? But I would have liked that too. But so she pushes her. Love that. Claire brings Jamie into the dining room. Why do they always have to lay him on the table? So he's up higher so she can do her surgery there?
Yeah.
So he's on the dining room table, and I have that she becomes true Claire again, bossing everyone around, doing surgery on Jamie. You get hot water. You get some linens and towels.
Alcohol.
And I also love that Jenny, for the first time, is like, okay. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And so, they all take off and they're doing their, she's giving her ministrations and they all run away. And then I love when Wee Ian mentions her 20th century knives. And she's like, I had a good person make these for me.
Maker make them for me.
Yeah. I wish there'd be more of that. If anybody ever would watch this, which I'm sure you wouldn't last this long, you guys, but producers, let's have more of that. That's fun. That's a fun little something in there that reminds us that Claire's not from this time. Okay. We see way too much of Jamie's up-close wounds, which I really
gross.
don't.
So gross.
What is that for? Why don't waste time on? I don't want to see. Show us once. Maybe show us a quick up-close.
We get it when you're digging around.
Yeah, we get it. We don't. That has nothing to do with the story.
I mean, I'm glad that they didn't use that for the starting, so that we wouldn't have to look at Jamie's gross, disgustingness Tracy, every episode.
There were sound effects. You could hear it squishing around. It was disgusting. I'm sorry. It's totally unnecessary. I don't know what I would. You know what, guys? If anybody can tell me not your opinions. If anybody knows exactly why production does that, please let me know, because I sure would love to know. I have perhaps Starz should send a companion gooey skin out for all of us to feel it too.
Ew,
Okay.
ew, ew.
Jamie barely makes a sound, like she's just removing a splinter.
Did she give him an autumn?
I
Because he was really out cold. I mean, I guess maybe he just drank so much that he like
I
passed
didn't
out.
think he was out cold. I thought he was just like taking it, like. So maybe we didn't see that. I don't know, but I was like, really? He's having surgery right now? I loved when Ian offered Claire the whiskey, and he calls her
was so
auntie.
great in this scene. He was so great.
He's so amazing. He's such a good actor, and he called her auntie. And I noticed that before she says, "You're the only one who called me that." I'm sitting there like, so sweet that he calls her that. Like, he's the only one who's been welcoming to her. Even old Ian has been kind of like, well, I guess, Claire. But Ian loves her and thinks she's fantastic because she's so interesting and she lives this crazy life with Uncle Jamie. So that's that. So next we see Jamie lying on whatever that was in front of the fire. Claire comes in to check on him. Once again, his hair looks awful. Poor Jamie. Jamie tells Claire that he was a ghost and a fish out of water and had, I have my words, he was a fish out of water and had PTSD. Met Leary's kids at Hogmanay, danced with them. We already went through all that. Says he was lonely. The kids offered him figs. Asked him to dance. And then I have, Leary put him up to that, which I already have said that too. So stupid that Jamie Fraser would let himself be conned into a marriage. It's so true. Like, I'm just like, why didn't you know? Why didn't you listen? Okay.
He wouldn't have cared. He would have done it anyway.
So true. So no, I don't really feel that way. I'm being a wise guy. I already went through the whole thing about me understanding that he's lonely and everything. I always got to throw that in, or I'm going to get comments that are like, Carol, how could you not know?
No, she's there.
Jenny
that's pretty much
urged
all
him to make the match. I already brought that up. He wanted to be a father and a husband and married Leary. Blah, 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 blah. There was a line that I didn't love when he's telling Claire about being married and all of that. And then he says he didn't get to care for Willie. Or Brianna. I'm like,
he started calling her Brianna again instead of Brianna.
At what point does Brianna not be an afterthought? That's all I want to know.
I feel so bad for Brianna. This scene in the book, this scene's probably better in the book because they deal with a lot more. They have, like, by the time this scene is over in the book, they're all good. And I think that they brought some of this scene onto the Silky Island or the Silky Cliff or whatever it is so that they could kind of wrap things up there a little bit.
Yes.
And I don't even know if they're really wrapped up yet. But it is a very cool scene because you don't know that Claire has brought the penicillin back with her. And also, this is another instance where, like, and we're getting so long here, but I do want to say, this is much longer in the book. Like, Claire really does leave, and she starts, she's off to
you guys.
Edinburgh.
Tracy, stop for a minute. So, excuse me. Just because I want to say it right now before you leave this subject. She leaves in the book. She's gone on a horse. And
Jenny gives her a horse. Jenny gives her, like, provisions. She's like,
Jenny's happy. Bye-bye.
This is for the best. Claire leaves, and young Ian comes to get her because Jamie's been shot, and, he's saying he thinks he's going to die. So, like, maybe you should come.
And then she comes back. It's a huge deal.
Yeah. But that said, obviously you can't do everything like that in a TV show. I thought that this was a really good adaptation of all of that. I think it worked really well.
They just had to shove it all in.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. But there's been moments in some previous episodes in this season where I didn't think that the adaptation worked, and I did now. Like, I thought this episode dealt with everything that it needed to deal with in a really good way.
Okay. Good. I didn't like that he said it wasn't always easy, but it was all right about the marriage because I don't know. And that's just me. I don't want to know that he was happy with her for 1 second.
I don't think he was happy, but I don't think he was unhappy.
Well, I think he's just saying it was all right because I had the bairns running around and, it wasn't.
I think it just was. I think he was just there. He just existed. It wasn't good, but it wasn't awful either. It just was.
I don't want to know that.
And that's really, but thinking about that, like, to describe Jamie Fraser like that, he just was, is really sad. In my mind. Like, that's what makes you sad because that's not him. He lives life, and there was a period of time with Leary where he just kind of was. And that's what's really sad.
Okay.
Did
Leary have 2 husbands? We mentioned that.
All right, let's get to the Silkies because we're about to go to.
Oh, and you didn't even mention him shooting him in the ass with the penicillin.
158.
He hated being shot in the ass with the penicillin. That was pretty funny. Like, that was a very shortened little...
Right.
That was a big deal in the book.
Right. Just move on to the Silkies.
And you don't want to skip over Jenny and Claire having a conversation outside?
Oh, no, all right. What did they say?
Jenny saw Claire standing between Jamie and Laoghaire when they were at the altar in her mind. Does Jenny have the sight?
A little bit. I think that's been said before.
Jenny says, I didn't ken who you were or what. So this is what Tracey was talking about in the beginning of the video, that you're kind of thinking, oh my God, she's going to go there. She's going to go there.
Oh, that's right. That's where it was.
And honestly, if she was going to tell her, that would have been the perfect time to tell her when she said, or what?
Because
Because here's what I didn't understand. You totally have said you disagree with me on this. I don't know that I would have hated it if she did, because this is where Jenny's basically saying something isn't right here. And it almost seems like in a not supernatural way, but you knew about the potatoes. You knew Jamie told me not to ask questions if you said things that I made no sense. And I didn't know what you were. And they believed in fairies and stuff during this time. So
right.
To me, like, it wouldn't have been all of that outlandish if Claire had told her at this point, just because in 2017, we're not going to believe her. But back then, you're not going to believe right away, but you're going to be more, the possibility is there that you are going to eventually be able to be convinced because of them believing in fairies and all this crap. I mean, look what they did to the babies, laying them out there on the trees.
But here's the thing. You just said you look at this in 2017. Think of it in their mindset. In their mindset, the fairies were real and normal. And
Murtaugh thought Claire was a fairy at first.
Right. So the reaction would be like, Claire should just tell her she's a fairy. That might be believable. It's still, and it's hard to understand that fairies are very real to them, but coming from the future is crazy and you're a witch. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I'm just still sitting here thinking, what would have happened if she told Jenny the truth? But I can do that off camera. Oh yeah, I have like Jamie told Claire about Willie, and that totally never happened. So what would have happened if she had told her here anyway? You were a sister to me. Oh my God, that whole thing really killed me. I thought maybe Jenny could have told Claire, about how god awful it was when Claire was gone. Heart to heart, poignant way, not yelling and bitching at her.
Right.
It bothered me that Claire says, all I'm asking for is a second chance. Because Claire's basically admitting to being the wrong one here. I don't like that. Claire's done nothing wrong. Why does she need a second chance? But she needs a second chance because Jenny's Jenny. That's why she needs a second chance. Ned Gowan shows up in the hallway. Do you want to talk about this?
I forgot about, oh my God.
Ned says Jamie's not married to Laoghaire, which, yay, give it a yay. Because Claire is already his wife, so he is not married to Laoghaire. But is Claire really married to Jamie if Frank is her husband? We didn't think about that now, did we? Laoghaire had put in a complaint that Jamie owes her because sometimes it's all about more money, more money, more money. Love that Ned mentioned the Disarming Act. Because I know we've gone there before a couple episodes ago with Fergus and the gun and this and that, but they were not allowed to have firearms.
Right.
And I thought, I love, bring me the history. I want to hear about the Diskilting Act. I want to hear about the Disarming Act. I want to hear about all of it. And not just in a 2-second little mention. I love that. They can't prove the gun is Laoghaire's, and either way, Jamie's not going to pursue this because of the girls. He doesn't want to drag Laoghaire through a big trial and possibly have her be shipped off to the Americas because of the girls. He doesn't want to pull away their mother because they've already lost their father, which I thought was very noble of him, and he's being a stand-up guy. And now we have Jamie, Jenny, Ian, and Claire chatting in the living room. Laoghaire wants 20 pounds up front and 10 pounds a year for the girls. Jamie says he'll go get the money. Then he fills them in on what's going on in Silky Island and that there's a big fat treasure because we're hunting for treasure over there at the island. Now, here's something I found interesting. Ian hears the whole conversation and is like, I'll go. I can swim. I can swim that long. And Jenny is like, yeah, away with you. Take the laundry out there or something. But then it ends up happening. So did Jenny then acquiesce? Did Jenny then say, okay, he can do this? I couldn't remember from the books. What I remember from the books was no. Like, I don't think Jenny knows that Ian's out there swimming to the island, does she?
No, she knows. She knows. Because I think all that goes down pretty much like the books, too, where then Jamie's going to get rid of the coins, the jewels or whatever in France, and he wants young Ian to come with him. Yes, I think that's all from the book.
It's all from the book except for, does Jenny know? Is Jenny giving her
yes,
blessing?
I think that together, I mean, again, we just said, like, at the end of the day, she's going to listen to Ian, and I think Ian's okay with it.
Okay.
I think that was pretty, Jenny knew what was going on.
What I remember from reading those books was that when Ian gets kidnapped, it's like, oh, no. Not just Ian got kidnapped, but like.
No. Look, Carol, do you really, I mean, Jamie's done some dumb things in this episode, but do you really think that he is going to, after all that's gone down, that he is going to sneak Ian away from his mother?
He didn't sneak him away. He told them he was taking him to France, and they okayed it. And
no, but I'm saying, like, even, or in the book, like anytime, would he really, like, pull something like that off, like, behind Jenny's back? Of course not. If he did that in the book or the show, he'd be dumb as F, and I'd never watch the show or read the book anymore.
Well,
now, they cleared it with Jenny. It was
I don't know how I misread it, because I just remember feeling when I was reading the book like, oh, now you're done for, because he's not even supposed to be doing this, and that's how he got kidnapped. Like, he didn't just get kidnapped. I remember feeling like, oh, he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, and he got kidnapped. So we're whatever. Bottom line is, he gets kidnapped. Oh, with Claire and Jamie have Claire is upset, tells Jamie that she's not sure if they belong together. Was that in the book too? I was like, oh.
Yeah, I told you, but in the book, by the time they have that conversation with the penicillin, and Claire, like, you know, brings Jamie's fever down or whatever. I don't even know that Claire. I kind of forget if she actually takes a bullet out or does an operation, or if when she comes back, she just gives him the penicillin, and because I think maybe Jenny handled it. I don't know. I don't remember. But, like, they're good by the end of that sequence, so that by the time they go off with Ian to the Silkies, they're pretty good. There's no like real doubt still. I mean, you know, maybe there is a little mistrust, but, like, there's no like, I'm not sure if we belong together. Whatever.
See, now I didn't have a problem with it, because the same reason that you're saying that it's okay that Jamie is, what did we just talk about before?
I don't, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I didn't have a problem with it because they did leave it somewhat unresolved in the show. It was still somewhat unresolved in the show.
What point did I make before that, like, kind of like my Jamie Fraser would never have done that?
I don't remember.
Because I feel like, if you're going to make Jamie, the whole, like, you know, you left me. Well, I also think it's really realistic that Claire would be like, this is too much for me. You know, I had my little life at home. I was a doctor. I went out, God, and I thought, you know, going to sleep and being on call was rough.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I also found it very interesting that she doesn't mention Bree. She says,
oh, yeah.
She says, I had a career.
And a home.
Yeah, she says,
and your daughter.
She says, I had a career, a home, friends. She never says Bree. Maybe she just can't bring herself to even mention Bree because she knows she'll cry. Or maybe she doesn't want to make him feel bad all over again about not raising Bree. But the bottom line is, she had a nice life, a calm life. She went back and forth to work. She raised her daughter. So now she's like, you know, I was thinking I was going to come back here, meet up with you, have our nice life, you know, and instead this is mayhem, craziness, all over the place, swashbuckling nightmare. So she's like, I don't know if we belong together. I don't think she meant that, like, in that soulmate kind of way. I don't think we belong together. I think she meant, like, I don't know that I'm supposed to be here in this time in your time living your life. I don't know that I think maybe I'm supposed to be living my life and you're supposed to be living yours, even though we love each other. You know what I mean? So Jamie's telling her they're mated for life, like the bird, and which is sweet. I know. I don't mean to be eye rolling. That's when I said, like, I didn't even blame Claire for wanting to go back. Or not wanting to go back, but questioning. And this point, it's hitting me. Like, Claire is the one who's given everything up for Jamie. Jamie hasn't given anything up for Claire. Claire's given up everything. Her home, her friends, her career, her daughter, for him to come here and live this crazy life. And he's not even, in my opinion, standing up for her enough, defending her to Jenny enough, and kissing her butt enough for the fact that she's come back here. And anyway, a ship pulls up and Claire's like, they're in the middle of a serious conversation. And Claire's like, Jamie. And that was just so cool to see this.
Yeah, the ship was
18th
great.
Century ship, which I then whispered to Tom, that's from Black Sails. Because we were big Black Sails fans and I know they used their ships. So they're like, they're yelling. Okay, Tracey, sit there for a minute. I'm going to yell to Brooklyn. Like, what the hell? And they're so far away and they're yelling at him. I'm like, what the heck? And I loved how, like, they're running down the hill and finally Jamie takes off the thing. He's ready to dive in and Claire's like, oh, no, you're not going to jump in there. And next thing you know, was it me? I guess it was just they had to do it so fast that it was like you saw the boat, you saw the little rowboat, you saw Ian coming down, and you saw the ship floating away. And I'm like, sailing away. And I'm like, oh, that was quick. So now we end the episode knowing that Ian has just been kidnapped by whomever this is. Yeah. And my point is, are these guys there to get the treasure? Because really, if that's the case, after all of these years, right now, they're coming to get the treasure. Like, again, this is where you have to suspend disbelief. And this is where it's much easier to read about in a book because it's that kind of da-da while you're reading and it doesn't seem so crazy. And then in the show, you're like, no way. But again.
Well, I mean, it is, they know about the island. They all know, like, all those islands around there. There are, maybe they've got some other use for that island. Maybe there's some other. I don't know that they would know about the treasure.
I'm telling myself.
Use the island for something else.
Yeah, I'm telling myself they're not there for the treasure. I don't know why they're there because what else is going on that hip island except for the treasure? But that's how I choose to believe it. Although who knows what's going to happen next week? Because I just can't even imagine how many years ago was the La Dame Blanche story and him swimming to the island.
Probably 7, 8, 9.
That was
in
like Ardsmuir. That was before Hellwater. He was in Hellwater for how many years? Then he's married for how many years?
Probably longer than that.
And then he's in Edinburgh for 2 years or however long it's been. So really, they just happen to show up now. That's what's so funny about it. But again, that's not the show's fault. That's the way it's written.
I don't know that ship was about. I mean, I would say that ship. I don't know why it was there.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't think it's like, okay, everyone's off to find the treasure now.
I can't for the life of me. I can't remember why.
I mean, I remember why in the book. Well, I don't remember how it knew to go there.
I don't know, but it was a cool shot that is to be commended to see that clipper ship come around that island. Very cool. The end.
This is the longest video ever in the history of videos. We are now at 2:12.
People who watch our whole videos do it like I do. I know you guys, most of you are not sitting there watching the whole thing at once. Some people do because they're doing something else while they're watching whatever. But I mean, we had somebody the other day who said, I cleaned my whole house while I listened. She listened to us. That's so awesome.
You're able to clean somebody else's house too.
I watch on the treadmill, which you guys just shows how little I've been on it lately because I've barely seen any of our videos.
All right, we got to go because I have still a crap load of work to do today. Like work, sadly, and I have to go perform. And
we also have to go because Carol has a life too, and Carol's getting a sore throat from talking this much.
I know. All right, you guys. So Let us know what you think in the comments. Again, apologies that this video is so long and like doesn't have any funny clips or whatever, but I just next week will be better. And let us know, did you end up, Carol, what would you give this episode at the end of the day out of 10? I'd give this an 8. I thought it was pretty good.
I would definitely give it an 8 because have you seen me be this crazy and passionate about an episode since they started? And I don't know who. I think I'm still going to give equal props to Diana Gabaldon and to production here and the writers because
I thought they did a good job with the writing.
Yeah.
I thought they really good adaptation of that part of the book.
It's a little bit the book, a little bit the show. So the fact that it made me think and it made me feel that much, I definitely would give it, an 8.
Yep.
There's a few things here and there I would have changed, but
Yep.
I'd even go maybe an 8.5.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.5.
Around the world and back, Snap.
Woo! All right, you guys, give us your comments on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the blog, everywhere else, and we will see you next week to see what happens with young Ian. Bye!